So they did turn the camera back on at that time. But keep in mind, their intention was to go home. The actions of the security guard were, I find them unusual. Because he saw them walking down the street. They're not praying, they're not talking to anybody, they're not reading the Bible, they're just walking down the sidewalk. They're not even in the park.
Wow.
So then the police came, and Art, out of respect, turned the camera off. And then when it became obvious to him...
I was not that smart.
It's almost too bad
time.
the camera wasn't rolling there to catch all of it, because part of that conversation is interesting, right? Because you claimed your constitutional rights.
That's right.
Art said, the policeman asked him to take it to another park. Go and pray and read the Bible at another park.
So in other words, it's illegal to pray in this park?
Yes.
But
the
it's
law
okay
protects me.
I
I am allowed to be here. And then the policeman said, I am the law, and whether he meant, I represent the law or whatever, it was very intimidating.
Right.
And that's when the camera came back on shortly after that. But the principle's very simple and clear. In Canada, freedom of religion and freedom of expression are protected. They're protected in the Charter. And the government cannot put any arbitrary or irrational restrictions on our freedom of expression or freedom of religion. And the city of Calgary is placing an arbitrary and irrational restriction on street church ministries, freedom of expression and freedom of religion.
I mean, I can't help but wonder, and this is not to knock, Buddhists, for example, but let's say if there's a Buddhist meeting, and I mean, meeting, but let's say if there's 5 Buddhists together outside the Fringe Festival, or even in the Fringe Festival, and they were praying together, I don't think anybody would be calling the police. I mean, I find it highly unlikely. So obviously, I think there's a clash of ideologies here as well that are opposing each other somehow, and that could be part of it, but that's just my personal thoughts. So, I mean, what, I guess, precedent is set if art were to lose? I mean, it sounds, when you've got film footage, I mean, it seems hard to believe that you could lose, but who knows? In this country, anything can happen depending on the judge, I think. So, I mean, if art were to lose, what would happen? I mean, what message would it send, I guess, to any religious community who wanted to go out and talk about their faith in public?
It would mean that any authority that had been given discretion, because the city of Calgary is given discretion through the city parks bylaw. They're given the discretion to give permits for the use of amplification within the city parks. And so it's the application of that discretion which we believe has been unconstitutional. And so it would then send a message to other authorities who have been given discretion through various legislation or bylaws that they too can use their discretion and be in violation of the Charter or have it involve constitutional rights.
So, for example, if I don't like you, Paul, and I have enough power and authority, and I think I can overrule any other law, if I just don't like you because, for example, you're a Buddhist or a Christian, I can place upon you a ban just because I don't like you. That's not law, that's dictatorship.
We don't want to go there, for sure.
But in the 1950s, the Supreme Court of Canada said, we cannot have this kind of arbitrary police action. The Duplessis government went after the Jehovah's Witnesses for leafleting, and they restricted them from passing out leaflets. And the Supreme Court of Canada said, you cannot use your discretion, you cannot use your authority in this manner to restrict the freedom of religion and freedom of expression. And so we have that case from the 1950s. And it's the principles in it are applicable to what's happening to art and the way the city is using their discretion and their authority in the bylaw.
You know what? I want to bring one other aspect in here that's outside of the legal realm. It's just, I guess, deals with Christianity, which is interesting. That's part of this too. We have the legal part of this. We have our Christian approach. And now, it's interesting to note, talking to you, Art, that you've had very little support from churches in Calgary and pastors in Calgary, other than you've had volunteers from various churches that have come out to help you, believing in what you're doing. Now, your style is, again, it's more on the edge, if you can use that term. A little more in people's face. You're passionate. You speak your mind enthusiastically. Okay, you're not just a soft-spoken, laid-back kind of guy. Some people don't like that. Okay, that's reality. Now, you put together a radio commercial, 30-second radio commercial, and you asked a couple of Christian stations in Calgary to play that. They refused, as I understand it. I'm only hearing your side. I didn't talk to the radio stations, but
and we did offer them money to pay for it.
Right, you were asking, you were going to pay for it, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, and you even offered to change the commercial to tone it down if need be.
We did change it, and we changed it, and they refused it anyway.
Okay, and it's very interesting to note that a Calgary secular station agreed to play it for you for free.
That's right.
And I'm just going to play that commercial here right now, and then I'm going to talk about some of my concerns over the response to that. Let's roll that.
Rescue me, O Lord, from evil men. Protect.
Stop! You can't read that Bible here.
August 16th, Artur Pawlowski was arrested on a 17th Avenue sidewalk for reading his Bible out loud.
But we are protected under the Constitution.
I'm the law.
Who cares? You should. Some of your rights as a Canadian citizen could be taken away if a precedent is established.
There's still a Charter
Enough.
of Rights.
You're under arrest.
For what?
Let's go.
This isn't about religion. This is about your rights as a free Canadian. Without them, you're nothing but a slave. May 14th, 2 p.m., Provincial Court, Calgary. Join him. Learn more at streetchurch.ca.
All right, just a quick update on that, by the way. There's the commercial that's airing in Calgary at a secular station, but the actual court time is 9, they want you meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I think we have a slide we can put up on the screen there as well. Okay, so 9 o'clock, Provincial Court Building, downtown, there it is. If you want to support that trial for his arrest last year, that's happening on Monday, all right? It would be nice to see the courtroom overflowing with support, and I think that will send a message, okay? So let's hopefully we see that happening on Monday. Now, I guess my concern is, as a Christian community, we do have this tendency here in Canada, I guess, not to want to rock the boat, not to get involved. But if we don't use it, we may lose it, our right to speak. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. If people don't like your style, they don't need to support your ministry. That's okay.
That's right.
No one has to. But there are people who want to. But what about the next person who comes up with a completely different style than you, and maybe they're a lot more laid back, and they get arrested? Then it's a different tune, isn't it? I mean, so we need to be supporting you whether we agree with your style or not, I think, in this case.
Well, every revival was rejected by establishment.
Sure.
You got
Well,
Martin Luther, you got Wycliffe, Huss, you got all those men of God that the only thing they had in mind was to stir the establishment, to stir the church, and to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ everywhere, not within the four walls, but everywhere. That means highways and byways, inviting them for a wedding feast. What's wrong with that? And it seems like the church that is within the four walls is afraid of that, because that will stir the pot and make them uncomfortable.
We don't get persecuted a lot if we just stay in the four walls and do whatever we want. People are fine. Take your religion at home, take it to church, that's okay. If you take it outside of the church into the public realm, that's where some of the problems, I think, begin.
That's right.
All right, but you're also doing, though, what the Lord called us to, in the sense that you're feeding the poor, you're clothing them, you're getting them off of drugs. All right, now, is it 100% success? No, of course not. But you're dealing with people who are out there on the edge. You've got to go to them. They may not be coming into your churches. Typically, they're not, because they don't feel welcome there, and they're living a different lifestyle. So, all right, going to take your calls in a moment. 1-888-816-2545. Let's take a look at the curb view, and then we'll do that. All right, ask people in the street here for some opinions on some of the noise complaints.
Should a city fine a business over noise complaints, even though no bylaw was broken?
Not really. I guess if there's no bylaw broken, not much they can do about it, eh?
It's probably a different situation in each circumstance. You can't just make a blanket statement, because you got one business and their reason for noise might be totally different from somebody else's.
Well, no. If there's no law, if they're not breaking a law, then we shouldn't be able to fine them.
Depending on the business, I guess, and what kind of neighborhood it's in, because I hear noises all the time, and so there's nobody who really cares, unless, I don't know, unless something wicked happens, unless there's a big domestic dispute or, violence going on, or, big party or something.
Is it okay for a religious group to preach to the homeless using a speaker system in the Galt Gardens?
I think it's fine. I'm a religious person myself. I'm a Christian, and why can't we? I mean, it's freedom of speech, isn't it?
And if you are, proselyting in some sort, and people are wanting to hear it and they're willing to come up and listen to it, that's fine. But to arbitrarily have loudspeakers and drive it into people that might not want to hear, I don't think it's fair.
No, if they want to do that, have where people can stand close to them. You don't have to So a lot of people don't believe in religion, you know, and they don't like people telling them what to do, you know.